You know what kind of pain changes a parent forever? It's not always physical danger. Sometimes it's seeing your child stare into a mirror trying not to cry because someone they trusted turned them into entertainment. And honestly, I still remember the exact sound my daughter made when she walked through our front door that afternoon. Not loud sobbing. Not screaming. Just this quiet, broken little voice saying, "Mom, don't be mad." The second she pulled her hoodie down and I saw chunks of her hair missing, my entire body went cold. Because somebody had cut my 8-year-old daughter's hair. Not accidentally. Not while playing. For social media content. And the worst part, my mother-in-law stood there laughing in the background of the video, while her grown daughter filmed it for views. But trust me, by midnight, both of them learned a lesson they'll never forget. And honestly, the consequences had nothing to do with revenge. It had everything to do with finally protecting my child the way nobody protected me growing up. Now, before I tell you what happened that night, you need to understand something about my husband's family. Because toxic behavior rarely starts with one dramatic incident. It grows slowly through disrespect people keep excusing until somebody finally gets hurt. My mother-in-law, Diane, loved attention more than anything. The kind of woman who turned every family gathering into a performance somehow. Everything was about appearances, photos, online image, looking like the perfect grandmother. And unfortunately, her younger daughter Melissa inherited that same obsession completely. Melissa lived online. Every meal became content. Every argument became a dramatic story post. Every private family moment somehow ended up filmed. And honestly, from the beginning, something about it bothered me deeply. Especially around children, because kids cannot fully consent to becoming internet entertainment. Now my daughter Ava was naturally shy already, sweet kid, sensitive, creative, the kind of child who notices emotions instantly. And honestly, I protected her privacy carefully because I understood how damaging humiliation can become at that age. Especially for girls. Now growing up, I dealt with my own issues around confidence and self-image, and honestly, fitness helped rebuild my relationship with myself completely. Training taught me discipline, self-respect, mental resilience. But more importantly, it taught me something powerful. Your body should never exist purely for other people's approval or entertainment. That lesson became incredibly important later as a parent. Now over the years, I repeatedly asked Diane and Melissa not to constantly film Ava. No surprise videos. No posting without permission. No pranks. And honestly, they always acted like I was overreacting. Too sensitive. Too protective. That word again. Protective. Funny how people call boundaries dramatic whenever those boundaries inconvenience them. Now, one thing about toxic family systems is this. When smaller boundaries get ignored repeatedly, bigger violations eventually follow. And that's exactly what happened. Now the day everything exploded started normally enough. My husband had taken Ava to visit his mother for a few hours while I stayed home catching up on work, and honestly, I almost went too. Something in my gut felt off that morning, but I ignored it. Big mistake. Now around 4 that afternoon, I got a text from my husband saying they were heading home early because Ava seemed upset. Immediately my stomach tightened. Because Ava loved leaving the house normally. If she wanted to leave early, something happened. Now when they walked through the front door, I knew instantly this wasn't small. My husband looked furious, like genuinely shaking with anger, and Ava wouldn't look at me directly. That's when she quietly pulled down her hood. Honestly, I felt sick immediately. Large, uneven sections of her hair were hacked off badly near the front. Not tiny trimming. Visible chunks. And before I could even process what I was seeing, Ava whispered, "Aunt Melissa said it was for a funny transformation video." Transformation video. My 8-year-old daughter wasn't a child to them in that moment. She was content. Now here's the part that still makes me furious. Melissa apparently convinced Ava they were filming a spa makeover challenge for social media. Then, while cameras rolled, she started cutting Ava's hair dramatically, while Diane laughed in the background, encouraging it. And the second Ava realized people were laughing at her appearance, she started crying. But instead of stopping immediately, Melissa kept filming. Think about how disturbing that is emotionally. A crying child begging adults to stop while they continue recording for entertainment. Now my husband showed me part of the video because someone already uploaded clips online briefly before deleting them. And, honestly, I've never felt rage like that before. Not because of the hair itself. Hair grows back. But humiliation at that age cuts deep emotionally, especially publicly. Now the second I looked at Ava's face, I recognized something immediately. Shame. Real shame. She kept apologizing repeatedly like she'd done something wrong, and honestly, that destroyed me. Because children often internalize humiliation automatically. Now that night, while Ava cried in her room, refusing to look in mirrors, something inside me shifted permanently. Because suddenly, this wasn't about difficult in-laws anymore. This was about emotional safety. Now fitness taught me something valuable over the years. Control under pressure matters. Anybody can explode emotionally. Real strength is staying focused enough to protect what matters effectively. So instead of screaming or reacting impulsively, I got calm. Very calm. And honestly, my husband knew immediately that calmness meant I was done tolerating things. Now first, I comforted Ava, sat beside her for nearly an hour, told her repeatedly she was beautiful, that none of this was her fault. And honestly, parenting moments like that mattered deeply. Because children build self-worth through how trusted adults respond to their pain. Now, after Ava finally fell asleep exhausted from crying, I started making phone calls. First call? A child therapist I already knew through community wellness programs. Because honestly, emotional humiliation can linger much longer than physical injuries. Second call? An attorney friend. Now let me explain something important. What happened wasn't just cruel, it potentially crossed legal lines involving minors, consent, and online exploitation. Especially because the footage included a distressed child, filmed without parental permission. Now around 10:30 that night, Melissa finally called laughing nervously, trying to smooth things over. And honestly, her tone changed very quickly once she realized how serious this actually was. She kept saying things like, "It was just a joke. She's too sensitive. You guys are overreacting." That phrase always fascinates me. Overreacting. Because people minimizing harm almost always focus more on escaping consequences than acknowledging damage. Now eventually Diane grabbed the phone too. And honestly, hearing my mother-in-law defend the situation made something click permanently in my brain. She actually said, "Well, kids need to toughen up, about public humiliation." At 8 years old. Now here's where everything changed. I calmly informed them both the video had already been documented, saved, and forwarded legally before deletion. Silence. Complete silence. Then, I explained they would no longer have unsupervised access to Ava moving forward. Ever. And honestly, that's when panic started. Because toxic people often assume forgiveness is automatic until boundaries become real. Now by midnight, several things happened fast. Melissa's sponsorship manager contacted her after complaints began flooding in from people who saw the uploaded clip before deletion. Apparently, viewers were horrified watching a crying child get humiliated publicly. One brand partnership paused immediately pending review. And honestly, that wasn't something I orchestrated personally. Consequences simply arrived naturally once people saw the truth. Now meanwhile, my husband finally confronted his mother directly harder than he ever had before. And trust me, that conversation had been building emotionally for years. Because underneath this incident lived something deeper, a family culture, where appearances mattered more than emotional accountability. Now, over the following weeks, Ava slowly recovered emotionally. We found an amazing stylist who helped fix her hair gently. But honestly, the bigger healing wasn't physical. It was rebuilding trust. Helping her understand she wasn't ridiculous for feeling hurt. Teaching her boundaries matter. Teaching her that family does not automatically mean unlimited access to you. That lesson matters deeply. Now, one thing fitness and health taught me over the years is this. Protection is a form of love. Protecting your body, protecting your mind, protecting your peace, protecting your children emotionally. That's not weakness. That's responsibility. And honestly, becoming physically stronger helped me become emotionally stronger too. Training taught me discipline under stress, patience during discomfort, consistency during difficult seasons. All of that carried directly into parenting. Now today, contact with my mother-in-law and Melissa remains extremely limited. And honestly, I don't regret that for 1 second. Because protecting my daughter's emotional safety matters more than keeping toxic people comfortable. Always. Now Ava's doing much better. Confident again. Smiling again. And recently she said something that nearly made me cry. She looked at me one night and said, "Thanks for believing me right away." That sentence stayed with me deeply because so many children grow up learning adults care more about avoiding conflict than protecting them emotionally. I refuse to let my daughter experience that. So if you're listening right now while questioning whether your boundaries are too much when it comes to your child, hear me carefully. Protect them anyway. Believe them anyway. Choose their emotional safety anyway. Because some people will call you difficult the moment you stop allowing access to your child at the expense of their peace. And honestly, that's a price worth paying every single time.